You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since fogging up CDs to make them stop skipping, now guides on your nostalgic tour of Disney history, one magical film at a time. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm at JB Waggoner. And on today's episode, we leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy as we review the first episode of Walt Disney's Disneyland.
So fasten that safety restraint and pull up on the yellow strap. It's time to open the vault.
Cue that Disney-ish sound effect. Okay, Eddie, if there is one episode that is wholly and entirely your brainchild, it's this episode. Because it is not a movie. It's not a show. It's none. Actually, you know what? It is actually a show. So break down what in the world we're doing today, talking about something I didn't know existed until it was added to our list.
All right. So I don't know where to begin on all of this, but it'll be a bit of a history lesson, I guess you could say. We go back to, the late 40s, early 50s, and this is when television is just becoming a thing in the United States. And this is hard for us to imagine nowadays, where we're actually now beginning to leave television behind and enter into full-on, streaming. But in this day and age, it was a race to have content, to actually fill up these devices. When television first came out, there were two main entities that created television channels. They were borrowed out of radio and came over. They were what we know today as NBC and CBS. These were the two main
behemoths
TV channels. Yes, the behemoths. The United States in the late 40s decided that NBC was too big and was committing kind of like antitrust monopoly, like breaking antitrust monopoly laws. Yeah. So they decide they're going to break NBC in half, and part of NBC swirls off and becomes the American Broadcasting Company, ABC, that we know today, right? So this is how we get the three main television channels that still exist to today, just in a very different. But back then, it was only these three channels, okay? So that sets the stage. Are we ready to get to where Disney comes into the picture? These three channels are begging anybody to create content. But all the major movie studios looks at TV as kind of dirty. I don't know. Yeah, like this isn't really what we're about. We're about major motion pictures, right? So they're really courting Walt Disney. They think Walt Disney's gonna be the guy to create TV content. At the same time, Disney has this idea. I want to create an amusement enterprise where both parents and kids alike can have fun together, right? We've heard the story of him sitting on the bench at Griffith Park and seeing his daughters on the merry-go-round and how he kind of created this whole idea. So what he keeps saying to these companies that come to him is, listen, I can't get a loan to make Disneyland. Mind you, at this time, Disney Studios is not the big major Hollywood studio. It's nowhere in like the top 5 of the major studios at the time. So nobody wants to loan him this money. So he's saying to the TV studios, I'll do a show for you if you invest in this idea of Disneyland. Yeah. 2, become a co-signer in this loan so I can get even more money to build Disneyland. And 3, let the show be about Disneyland, me creating this new amusement enterprise. NBC, the big honcho that it is, says no way are we going to do anything like that. So he goes to the second biggest, CBS, and CBS is like, no, we don't want anything to do with this. Never mind. So who's left? The third, the smallest, the newest of these new TV channels, ABC. And guess what ABC says? Sure, we're the smallest. We don't have enough content. You're Walt Disney. Sure, we'll figure this out. So they give Disney the money. They connect, like one of their board members is also on the board of a bank in Texas that helps loan this money so that he can start building Disneyland. And as we're about to talk about, he creates his TV show, Walt Disney's Disneyland, which becomes a long-running anthology. It changes its name here and there, but in essence, this is the idea. Walt Disney presents on TV something that they're working on, whether that's one of their animated films in TV version or some type of animal documentary or, all of these different things. But the idea of Disney being this host, it is the second longest running TV show in American history.
Wow. I had no idea.
It is the second longest running primetime program on U.S. television. The only one that beats it is the Hallmark Hall of Fame. We all know about the Hallmark Presents things that they do. That's the only thing that is longer.
Not America's Funniest Home Videos, because it's been going for 20 years.
It's been going for a long time too. So this is huge, right? Like, this is how we get Disneyland. We get the Disney theme parks that we know and love today because of this TV program. And that is not an over dramatization of it whatsoever. This is how the financing to make this dream a reality comes about. ABC for a long time owns a percentage of Disneyland. Eventually they buy that back. And a part of this deal is that ABC gets to run all of the food locations in Disneyland for a set period of time.
That's a very specific thing that they had access to.
Yes. So for the longest time, and it took them a while, they were in charge of all the concessionaires inside of Disneyland.
Ooh, what fancy word right there.
If you wanted to buy a hot dog or get a Coke there on Main Street, that money actually went to ABC and not to Disney. That was all a part of how they negotiated ABC, more or less being the backer on the loan for Disney to be able to do this. So that sets the stage of why this program is significant. How does that change your perspective or think about this differently?
I knew some of the basics of it. I had heard the story of how they were intertwined, ABC and Disneyland. And so I kind of knew that going into this, and I was kind of prepared for a piece of that. It's funny to me to think of like Disney building a park, and that is content. Like them building, everything is so under lock and key nowadays. And the fact that they would actually tell you everything that's coming into the park, and that was like appointment television at night. I think this was on Sunday nights or something like that. And it's one of the most memorable TV shows of all time. And it's them just explaining what they're building. Not necessarily like a walkthrough like we're used to, where people like videotape their experience going through. This is him just like, here's all the plans and here's all the things coming. And I know that they did also vignettes and stories and stuff like that. They talk about the 30 camera crews that they have all over the world currently filming at the time. So I kind of knew that it was a very important piece of this Disneyland puzzle, like this show and how they kind of intertwined. When did the show go off the air? Do you remember? Anywhere where it said?
It's a bit difficult to like piece together, but initially this runs, so it bounces between the other networks. So it becomes the hottest show in TV. So eventually NBC pays big bucks to be able to get this for a little while, even CBS for a little while. Eventually it comes back and but between 1954, it runs uninterrupted until 1983.
Wow.
Think about that. It has a 2-year hiatus and then gets going again and runs regularly until 1991. And then it runs from 91 to 97 with a bit of infrequency, but it's still running today. It's now called The Wonderful World of Disney, but it had many different names. Walt Disney Presents, Disney's Wonderful World of Color, which was the big one for quite some time. Yeah. The Wonderful World of Disney, that's kind of been the one that it held for quite some time. Then in the 80s, it was the Disney Sunday Movie, The Magical World of Disney, The Wonderful World of Disney came back again, and it is held there pretty much since the early 90s. But yeah, it is aired on all of them. It is now currently viewable on ABC and Disney Plus, or it's presented by Disney Plus on ABC.
So it's still running today?
Yeah.
When? Like how? How do you watch this thing?
On ABC. So there's these things called TVs, and you like hook little cables
like
to
when,
them.
Like is this like a Sunday evening? I've never.
It's regular. You've never sat down and watched The Wonderful World of Disney?
I haven't seen anything of it in forever. Like I have a very foggy memory of watching any of it. But like if I was like, okay, let's schedule some time and watch this live, I wouldn't know when, I wouldn't know how. The Wonderful World.
I don't know when it's airing
Disney,
today, but
when is it airing? This is so fascinating. Like I want to, yeah.
Yeah. So what they, and in essence, what they do is they take their most popular things and recut them to be on, for TV purposes. So, I mean, they've shown everything from Finding Nemo to The Avengers, the live action of Beauty and the Beast.
To just greatest hits, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's also important, like, this is in many ways more than the movies. It's this show, it's this program, especially in its run in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, that creates Disney as the household name that it is today. Like more than the movies, it is the fact that Walt Disney came into everybody's living room every Sunday night and talked to everybody. That is where Disney gets embedded in the American culture.
Starts living rent free in our heads.
Exactly. And I would say, it took it to the mass audiences more than, even the movies. Because if it was the movies, it would be something that you would go and do once a year, maybe. You would go and interact with Disney. We didn't have any type of home video consumption at this time, right? This is weekly. This is the first time on a weekly basis. And Walt moves from studio head creative person to mythical proportions.
Icon.
Right now, icon, right? I literally have now a Lego of Walt Disney, right? Like he has moved to this upper echelons of people. Like you think of there are these characters in American history that just rise to this legendary status. And there's not many of them, but Walt Disney is, because he is Uncle Walt. And they begin to realize that who he is, his persona, now is the persona of the company and is the marketable and the trademark and all of those things. So it really captivates all of American culture and dramatically shifts Disney's, the company and the man, his impact on American culture.
So what we've got here that we watched together, and you can watch as well, probably put this in the show notes somewhere, probably would be good, is the first episode of the launching episode is what we watched for this episode. And it's interesting because there's a lot of cutaways and you get like moments where it goes away and we're like watching either a portion of one of the upcoming movies coming up, or we revisit Uncle Remus for a little bit. Sikowski, it kind of like maybe this is the version it is nowadays, but it's like full moments from some of these other pieces of it, while also still showcasing the parks and showcasing the different elements of it. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. There's obviously not enough content for the show to just be about the construction of Disneyland. And so I think he does something really smart here. He takes the overall broad concept of Disneyland, right? You've got Adventureland, Frontierland, Fantasyland, and Tomorrowland. This is at the opening of Disneyland. You have these four main lands. So at this episode, he kind of opens it with a bit of an overview, talking about the studio, how people aren't able really to come visit. Comes up with this idea, and then pretty much crafts the TV show around the structure of the park. Right? We're going to go visit Adventureland in these types of stories. And so he teases the real life adventure series. Like you said, we've got 30 camera crews all around the world. But then he also teases visits to Frontierland with Davy Crockett, which Davy Crockett ends up being a huge hit for Disney. We're going to look at one of the TV movies next week. Mm-hmm. Davy Crockett, I think it's King of the Wild Frontier or one of those. And then, of course, he's going to tease a little bit of Tomorrowland. And then Fantasyland is the easy one for them because they can just say, and next week we're going to visit Fantasyland and you get to see Alice in Wonderland on Walt Disney Presents, and so that's kind of where they tease it out a little bit and allow them, the extra content that they've already created, and they're selling it twice. But each week, there's always this little tease of the different episodes. So there's a lot of this footage that gets shown nowadays in documentaries like The Imagineering Story on Disney Plus, where you've got Walt walking around a model, or, he's pointing at a map up on the screen or whatnot. All of that footage comes from this anthology series over the decades. So pretty much any time we have stock video of Walt talking about an attraction like Pirates of the Caribbean, those are really famous, where he's interacting with the birds from the Tiki Room. It's from this TV show.
It almost becomes sort of a documentary especially of his final years.
It does. And I had this feeling as some of it was going on, it felt like the early DVD extras behind the scenes making of, you get these, especially, we just looked at 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and there's this little segment in there where they take you into the soundstage and you see the actors getting their makeup on, and they're actually filming the squid sequence, and they show you that, which I think is really, really cool.
Yep. Yeah, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is prominently highlighted right up the front. This is as they're working on Sleeping Beauty, which probably almost never happened, where they would show you one of their films before it actually came out. That was like way ahead of its time.
Yeah. And in many ways, I think this is the genius of Roy and Walt Disney, right? They are figuring out ways to sell the same thing twice and then make even double money off of that, right? Like they've already created much of this content, and so they're selling it again. They're getting paid by ABC, they're getting upfront. Plus ABC is backing the loan to be able to create all of this. So that's, double payment. Plus it's free advertisement for people to go to the theaters and see 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, go see Sleeping Beauty, which ABC doesn't touch any of that revenue. This is brilliant. This is just, brilliant, business maneuvers all around.
I wonder how long it was until CBS and NBC were kicking themselves that they could have had a piece of this.
I wonder, it had to have been pretty instantaneous, right? Because it does become this toss around where everybody starts jockeying for it and wanting it. I do think the humorous part in all of this is you fast forward to the year 1997 and Disney purchases Cap City ABC, right?
Yeah.
And now ABC is a part of Disney, which is
and now they're trying to get rid of it.
To me, humorous. And now they're like, I don't know if we want this anymore. Let's get rid of it. But it was ABC who made all this possible for them. A couple of things. First, what did you think at the beginning? We get some great aerial footage of both Walt Disney Studios in Burbank in the early 50s, and we get some flyovers of Disneyland in Anaheim when it first opens, and you see all the orange groves still all the way around it. What was kind of your sentiments and feelings as you saw some of all of that, having been close to all of that for some time?
Well, I like how he's describing Anaheim and as if no one has any idea, like nobody's ever been to Anaheim before. And so he's having like, it's all the way down here. Has to get out a map to show you exactly where it's located because literally nobody had any idea. But yeah, when they do the orange groves and you've got that aerial view of just this stark land with literally nothing around it, it's just shocking. The change that it is. It's a full city, booming metropolis now through the LA sprawl. It's just it's crazy whenever you fly in and out of that area to John Wayne Airport, especially. You just see it just goes for miles and miles. You can't see it where it stops, and to see it at that point, which is now 70 years ago, when this thing was like released, it's crazy. It's crazy the changes that have happened since that point. So yeah, whenever I see the aero shot of the groves, it's just like, wow, what changes with commerce and growth
and innovative ideas, right? I mean, Disney did something no one had really ever done before. There was only a handful of parks somewhat similar to this concept in the world. There was...
When he made this because he was mad at the rest of the parks kind of sucked.
Yeah. I mean, you had Knott's Berry Farm, which was close by, which is kind of similar. You can kind of see some similarities. You have Tivoli Park in Denmark, which was kind of a big standard for Disney. But outside of that, there really weren't too many in what he was creating. This idea of an immersive theme park environment. So it literally puts Anaheim on the map. As you said in the episode, he literally has to pull a map out and point it out. Otherwise, people didn't know what it was, which is humorous nowadays. Disney has to do so much wrangling with the city of Anaheim to do anything. You kind of want to show them this episode and be like, you realize no one would even be able to point out Anaheim on a map if it wasn't for what Disney has done here, which was really interesting.
I don't know that they have to do that much wrangling. I think they mostly just tell Anaheim, this is what we're going to do. And this is what we're going to do.
In the past few years, they've got that whole new like Disney Forward plan that's going on where they're trying to essentially build a third theme park there and do all these other things. And yeah, they've had to do quite a bit of wrangling in the past couple of years. But yeah, it is interesting. Did you pick up on the famous Walt Disney quote that is, maybe top 3 of all famous Disney quotes originates from this episode, from this show?
Which one?
When Walt Disney stands in front of the book and he says, I'm going to mess up the quote, but essentially, I hope we don't lose sight of one thing, that it all began with a mouse.
It all began with a mouse. Yep.
Which I think is cool, right? That, again, it's kind of another, dare I say, historic moment that is encapsulated by this one episode. So one of many reasons why I thought this was deserving of our attention and taking a look at it.
I doubt we're going to do a rating for this episode. Because it doesn't
it's a little
really
hard.
seem like it fits the rest of the rating system. Partially because I've never ever seen any of this before. Well, I mean, I haven't seen any because I'm sure I've seen the archival
You've seen
footage
clips
of it.
Yeah,
clips of it. But that was interesting. That's not one of our ratings on here, but it was interesting. Like, it obviously plays a pivotal role, but its pivotalness, if that's a real word, it's more important than it is entertaining and filled with, like, I definitely had this on a second screen while doing other things myself. But
I mean, I was thinking if I were to give this a rating, for me, it definitely does fall into more of like a 4, like a classic. Like, there is this element where if you're any kind of Disney nerd and just like, get all crazy about all things Disney, this is definitely something worth. It's 30 minutes on YouTube, 38 minutes at most.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth put it on the second screen. Like, having the ability to say, like, yes, I have seen some of the Disneyland story from TV. You're no self-respecting Disney nerd unless you've at least watched one episode.
So we said we weren't rating this, but you went classic. I went interesting.
Yeah, you dropped it all the way down to 2. It's like, oh, okay.
It did not hold my attention for very long. I'm not just gonna. Maybe it's because I had too many other things I was doing, but I was like,
I love this. We are going to look at the one more episode of this show. It's going to be here in a few weeks. We are going to several weeks. In 1955, when Disneyland actually opened, they did a huge TV broadcast to the grand opening of all of that. And at the time, it was the biggest watched TV event ever. So here in several weeks, we will revisit this show with its conclusion with the opening. But in the meantime, we're going to look at a few other things that have significance within this line that may be a slight deviation from the Disney classics that we know and think of readily. Like we mentioned, we're going to watch Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. We're going to look at an episode of the original Mickey Mouse Club, another TV show that put Disney on the map. We're going to look at one of those true life adventure films from Adventureland that kind of really started the whole animal documentary series. We're going to look at one called The African Lion.
I love animal documentary series. So
you love animal documentaries. It's like your favorite.
Yep. Front of the line.
And then we're also going to pick up some classics like Lady and the Tramp, Old Yeller, and all of that. But we're definitely moving into this era where you've got the 50s and the 60s, mainly the 50s, that Disney becomes part and parcel with American culture. Like, he is a quintessential American man. And I'll probably mention this in a few weeks, but I saw an interesting stat from the Smithsonian. You ready for this? They say that 83% of all Americans have visited a Disney park.
Wow.
83%. There are fewer things that unite all Americans than Disney.
Although I would say as of recently, the percentage might, I don't know if it's going down, but it's starting to fray a little bit. I think modern Disney may be losing sight of who they truly are, or this kind they
of
were born to be.
Uncle Walt version.
Yeah.
But I think, not to overstate it or put too fine a point on it, it's like it is from these things that we now arrive to this moment where Disney is. I mean, you think American culture, you think baseball, apple pie, and Disney. I've ranted enough.
Which is why it's a classic. Oh goodness, Eddie. We got a lot of stuff to talk about heading
Still
up here soon. Yeah. Still to go. But now that we are all filled up on nostalgia, we've got not a little bit of Disney news. We have a lot of Disney news. Basically, from the moment we ended recording last week and started preparing the episode to be released, so many things happened. Like, back to back to back to back. It's just truly
so
incredible.
Many things. We're not even going to talk about all of them here today. We're going to save a few for next week. I think next week we'll spend some time to speculate on maybe some of the Disney video games that are coming after they announce that big deal. But we'll just leave that for next week because we've got enough other things.
Yep. First,
do you want to kick us off with this super duper mega sports Superstreamer app service thingamajigger? That's the best way to put it. So simultaneously, Disney finally gave us their first big definitive, this is what we're trying to do with streaming. Like, they've been mentioning it, they were hinting about it. And they both told us, hey, we're going to launch a direct-to-consumer ESPN app. It'll be coming out in 2025. And at the same time, they told all of us that they're partnering up with their enemies to launch a super streaming sports app. So they along with Fox and Warner Brothers Discovery are going to create, I don't know if they're going to create a custom app or just be able to let you bundle all of the sports that you can handle. I think they said it's like 75% of all major three sports they will have. They've got most of football, other than I guess they've got they'll have Monday Night Football and Fox, anything playing on Fox. They'll have TNT, TBS. Mm-hmm. Like, they're going to have a lot. There's already a lot of speculation. A lot of NBA. There's a lot of speculation over how much it's going to cost. There's numbers around $35 to $40, which does make me more excited that the ESPN only app that will be 2025
might be closer to $20. I'm kind of hoping that it'll come up around that. But if we're looking at this now, we personally have Max and we have ESPN, or we don't have ESPN. So it'll be interesting to see if we end up going this route of purchasing this bundle, another bundle. But I think the big thing it shows is everybody's still trying to figure out streaming. They still don't know what they're doing. So they're kind of throwing this whole idea out. Hey, what if we all got together and did it together? And it's like low lift. It's a low, they're not having to really do something super brand new, invest a ton. It's shared. There's a lot of parallels to how Hulu started. That's a lot of the parallels I've been hearing about. Like, this is basically what the studios did when they created Hulu. And then it morphed over time. So we'll see if this ends up being something that's super valuable, if it changes anything, or if it's another thing that, cable nevers. That's a new word I learned throughout this process, was cable nevers. That was Murdoch said that. He's like, there's this core 50 million users that are cable nevers, and they're never going to join cable, and this is going after them. So maybe he knows something that I don't. Hopefully he does. Yeah. He's putting his money behind all this.
I mean, I've never paid for a cable package, so maybe I'm in that category. Yeah, I mean, when I first read this, my first reaction was the Hulu comparison as well, where it was just like, I think this sounds just like Hulu. And it was interesting because the first time I remember hearing about Hulu was during the Super Bowl. They had a big Super Bowl ad.
Where's an alien?
They're alien. Exactly what I was thinking. Alec Baldwin, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting that the news of this was released the week of the Super Bowl. It just kind of felt like, this is Hulu for sports, and you're telling us about it around the same time you told us the last time. So it'll be interesting. I wonder how all of this will play out. It sounds like they didn't get the big things that they were really hoping for, which is like partnerships directly with some of the leagues. I think what Apple did with the MLS is what one of these networks was really hoping for, was a kind of a direct league service type of partnership like that. And it doesn't sound like any of the major leagues wanted to walk away from the lucrative competition is just just throwing the rights out there. They all have to fight for it. They're going to make so much more money off of that, and they don't really have to do too much to make that happen. So this was really interesting. This was all a part of a bigger announcements. Disney had their quarterly earning calls where they announced a lot of different things and shared, saying that they were doing better financially. They're announcing bigger stocked dividends. They're kind of padding it all out a little bit, mainly because they're in the middle of a huge proxy fight. There's two hedge funds that are trying to get their people on the board in different ways. I read an article that this is going to end up being the most expensive proxy fight in history. They're expected over $70 million to be spent on advertising directly to stockholders. What I thought was interesting, a third of roughly, these are very broad general numbers, but roughly a third of Disney stock is owned by these different types of like hedge stock management funds, right? Think of Peltz and his fund. Another third is owned by company faithfuls, right? Think your Bob Igers, right? They and board members, they all owned quite a lot. So they're kind of naturally going to shift into their two camps, right? So who's going to decide this vote is the remaining third, which is owned by everyday people who went, shucks, I want to own a share in the Walt Disney Company. And they just bought a share or two, right? Over a third, more than most companies. Most companies don't have such a high level of their stockholders that are just kind of individual out for the fun of it. So nobody knows how those people are going to vote. If they're even going to vote, because often they don't, but then there's also speculation they have a great love for Disney. So are they going to show up and kind of help, quote unquote, restore the magic, as the tagline for this fight has become? So this earnings call was really a part of this whole fight, as Disney was like, let's just start splashing the pan and show them how great we really are and how wonderful we're doing all of this, in hopes that people will just vote for Bob and his crew.
Yeah, so some of the things that they released in this, one of which, or the most shocking one to me at least, was Moana 2. Was not prepared for this at all, because this Moana sequel actually started off, it was a greenlit for a Disney Plus show. So this was going through production and going through development as a show. And then I don't know how long ago, maybe we're just now hearing about it, or maybe this is a very brand new decision that they made, but they've turning it into a film. As we've talked about on this before, there was after all of the moving movies back, there was a giant hole in November around Thanksgiving for a Disney film, and they always have a Disney animated film every year around that point, and they didn't have anything. They had nothing in that time slot, and now they do. I don't know about you, Eddie, but my first question was like, this might suck. Like, not only just like sequels in general, already a very risky area, especially for a movie that is so good. It's one of the best animated films they've ever come out with. And the fact they're going to do a sequel, but they're also going to convert a show into this. I have so much trepidation around this. The expectations are sky high, and this can go badly very quickly. It might have already gone badly as far as we know.
Well, I think have we heard anything in regards to whether or not Lin-Manuel Miranda is attached?
He's not attached to it.
He's not attached to it.
As far as I know, I was hearing them talk about it, and that's the third. Like, I'm already like low expectations on this.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing, where I'm going, they're not. If he was attached, that would be plastered on the front of this, right? Like, and the fact that they left it out is just eerie to me. Also, I mean, the things and the rumors that were spinning around Wish and how they threw that together and really rushed it towards the end makes me really nervous about just the overall quality about this. Do we know if Ron and John are coming back to direct this?
That's what I'm trying to look up what's happening right here, and all of the ones that I'm watching that I'm reading are all not putting the thing I want to know right up at the front. Barlow and Bear. Does that sound like a music group or something? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know who these guys are. They won a Grammy Award for Best Musical Theater Album for the unofficial Bridgerton musical. What is happening here, guys? Just be better at your websites. This is weird. Anyway, so I've got a lot of... The only person... Yeah.
Okay, yes. So the film was written... Yeah, so it's written and directed by David Derrick Jr. This is his feature directorial debut.
Eddie, everything is saying this is going to suck.
You have the two main voice characters. They are coming back. They're going to reprise their roles, so you get to hear their rock again. Yes. So, oh wow, yeah. Lin-Manuel Miranda has nothing to do with all of this. I have zero expectations for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't.
Sad.
No. It is. It's really sad because there are certain movies that just are so tight and so just like perfect. That ending of Moana, you're just like, I'm good. I want whatever happens next to be left to the imagination, to the great beyond and unknown. And so, no, we have to milk this for money, which is sad. And this also means what? For the next 3 years, we're going to get sequels. Because we've got now Moana 2, then Frozen 3, and then they've already said there's a Frozen 4 right after that.
Toy Story 5.
Toy Story 5, Inside Out 2. So we're just going to be in sequel land for several years here.
As they try to right the ship with sequels.
Yeah, and it's funny because a part of what got the ship out of whack in the first place was too many sequels and remakes and not enough original content.
So let's double down on it. I got it. Great idea.
I just this doesn't make sense. Yeah. I don't like the idea of when you decide you're going to make a sequel and none of the creative team from the original one is involved. All I can think of is direct to video home release.
Ooh,
it's
gross.
Peter Pan 2, Cinderella 2, 3, and 4, all of those films that were popular in the early 2000s where you're just like, no, there's no way this can be good. If no one from the original creative team is involved, come on, there's something wrong here.
Well, speaking of there's something wrong, the final piece of Disney news that dropped, that was the first thing that dropped, was Gina Carano, who famously was fired from the set of, was fired from The Mandalorian after season 1. She is now finally taking Disney to court, and she has a very famous backer that's helping her with all her legal fees. Our buddy, Twitter ex-owner, not ex-owner, but owner of X.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk
famously, back in November, end of November, I want to say it was, put out there that if anyone was unlawfully terminated from their job based off of something that they said on the X platform, he would help cover their legal fees. And so this was kind of big, where it was like, okay, is anybody going to take him up on it? And looks like Gina Carano is doing that. And I mean, hers was one of the bigger cases. I think the only one that you could say was bigger was Roseanne Barr and the cancellation of Roseanne. Yeah, both of which are Disney, right? So if Roseanne decides to sue, it would be hilarious, as Disney is now staring down both of those. This is significant because I think nobody ever wanted to take on Disney because they're essentially a law firm, right? Who also makes some movies on the side. And well, in the past few years, they've lost quite a few significant legal battles, and you get the world's richest man to back you and, maybe help you pick your legal team.
More of a fair fight.
It's more of a fair fight. So I think this will be really interesting, especially for her. Like, her whole story was just ridiculous. What they felt was egregious speech on her Twitter post, where it's just like, really? Like, come on, that's a stretch. Like, Roseanne Barr's, you can look at that and go, yeah, she shouldn't have said that. I don't know if you should have, canceled everything based off of that, but like, yeah, that what she said, that, yeah. But the Gina Carano story always felt so odd to me. So I think this will be really interesting. As Elon Musk has said multiple times, it is his goal to eradicate the woke mind virus. That is his way of articulating that.
And this is his next step towards that.
And this is his next step. And he doesn't care. We all remember what he told Bob Iger back in October. Words that I cannot repeat here on this
family-friendly podcast.
On this family-friendly podcast. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be a long legal battle, right? You know, these things take forever to play out, but it'll be. But what's funny, I don't know if you saw, in her lawsuit is to give her a role back in the Star Wars. Like it's not just like payment compensation. No, they actually have to put her on screen.
Yeah, that's never gonna
because
happen.
she was supposed to be in multiple seasons of The Mandalorian, and she was supposed to be in the spinoff show Rangers of the New Republic, which they canceled when they fired her. So she's going for it, not just monetary compensation, but she wants an actual role in Star Wars film.
You mean the film that she made for Daily Wire isn't like replacing all of the things that isn't doing everything
called?
For her? It's a Western.
Something on the Prairie. Yeah.
Death on the Prairie. Who knows? So it doesn't seem like that's going far enough, but
maybe not. But yeah, there it is. We've given you all the news for now. That's a lot. We'll talk about it a little bit more, and I'm sure more will come up by the time we record next week. So, JB, I hope you and the family have a good week.
So do I.
Nothing too crazy going on?
Nope. Just I think my kids are definitely tired of football and pizza, mostly pizza. We had a friend.
They're tired of pizza.
We plan to do our normal Papa John's on Super Bowl night to kind of just watch some football. You know, you gotta have some pizza with it. Well, we had a birthday party the day before, and we showed up to the birthday party, and they had pizza there. And I asked my wife, "Hey, should we like cancel the pizza order?" She's like, "No, just go for it. Let's just do it." So pizza and wings Friday, pizza and wings last night, and then today we had so much leftover pizza, and we're all about, hey, if we can. My wife's really great at like, hey, if we can make the food stretch a little bit longer and save us some,
let's do it.
Save us some money. #inflation. Let's do it. And so tonight we had we finished off all the pizza. So it's all gone now. And I'm just wondering if my wife will ever have pizza again this year, or if any of the kids will ever want to have pizza again this year. But they didn't make any complaints about it, but it was just
Do you get tired of pizza?
Not really.
I don't. I
don't know. I don't think I'll have it tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to be getting pizza tomorrow, but that could change any moment. Burgers are what I really can never get enough of. Like I could literally have a burger every single day. Pizza at some point you're like little feeling it, just starting to feel it all just sticking with me. But yeah, so they were.
It's funny that you say that. Friday night we did our monthly family pizza night. We're gluten dairy free, so we're weird over here.
It's not even pizza.
It is. It's good. I mean, so here's what we do. It's not pizza unless there's real cheese. Like I'm gonna draw the line there. So I'm like, Sarah, I love you, but we're gonna make your pizza off to the side with your vegan soy cheese that doesn't really melt. And so it's like, what is this chemical makeup? But we have to make our own crust and all of that here. You can't really buy a gluten-free pizza crust without, mortgaging one of the kids to be able to afford it. So we only do it once a month. But yeah, we had that Friday night, we did our pizza and family movie night.
Pizza all around, both families. It's just in the air right now. Well, with that, you have got your weekly dose of Disney nostalgia.
Be sure to subscribe to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast wherever you listen to your other favorite podcast, and also give us a look on YouTube.
While you're there, please leave a 5-star review and like on whatever platform you're listening to. And you know what? Why don't you just go ahead and just hit that share button? Share it with your best friend or your best enemy. You know, keep your friends close and your enemies closer with your podcasts.
Yeah, everybody's sharing the highlight of last week's episode. Eddie gets attacked by a killer bug.
Love it.
You can also check us out at honeywemade.com, where you can see all of our nostalgic reviews of Disney movies.
Tune in next week as we review Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier.
Thank you for listening, and remember, this is a place of hopes and dreams, facts and fancy all in one.